I'm Cyndy Guerrero.
And I'm Tomas Guerrero.
And together we're bringing you voices from around the university
to talk about things that matter to you, our students.
This is RGVoces. All right, so today we're talking about research and how to develop a research question.
But I don't want it.
Too bad. So first of all, we want to talk about what a good research question looks like. And this is also a little bit subjective because it could very much depend on your professor and the parameters of the research paper. But usually what I like to tell my students is that a good research question, or an effective research question, I should say, is one that does not ask a simple yes or no question.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we ask a simple yes or no, then we kind of limit our research, or limit our ability to
explore.
Yes, and contribute new ideas to this question. So the example I give my students is, if I were to ask a question like, is texting while driving bad? It's kind of simplistic. Yes or no? I hope your answer would be yes.
Yes, all the time, yes, 100%,
Yes.
Don't do it.
Yes. And then for your entire research paper, really, the most you could do is give examples as to why.
Right.
But people have heard that over and over again, right? But if we want to kind of complicate that conversation and explore something that's a little more complex, maybe my question should change to something along the lines of, does the media do enough to deter texting while driving? And that becomes kind of an opinion-oriented statement and a complex one because you have to look at a lot of factors. Do we talk about social media? Do we talk about the advertisements that are against texting while driving? If your answer is no, then why do you think they don't do enough? Is it because they're afraid money issues will come into play with the phone company? What are all these complex issues that go into that question? So you see how that's a lot more of a chance to explore these complexities rather than the simple question of, is texting while driving bad?
And it creates opportunities for conversation, funny enough, because if you start saying something like, well, should we implement some kind of design in our phones that, you know, say, for example, cuts them off when you're going a certain speed?
Right.
And then some people would immediately go, well, what if I'm not driving?
Right.
It's like, well, maybe, you know, so it kind of causes this moment of like, well, what about this? And let's talk about this.
Right.
So once you're able to fully explore or create an opportunity to explore a question, you've got your research.
Right, right.
Another thing that we would advise is don't just write about something you already know about.
Right.
It kind of basically comes off as regurgitation. Like, it creates nothing new to add to a conversation that is of value.
Right.
And yes, it is your perspective, but at the same time, if you're still saying like texting while driving is bad, it's like, well, congratulations, join the club, right?
Right.
That's nothing new. But you want to be the type of person that uses this question to kind of propose new ideas and then understand what kind of challenges come with proposing this idea.
Right. And we also want to emphasize the fact that research should be kind of like a conversation, or it can be. I shouldn't say should because, again, it's different situations for every professor.
Right.
But it can be. And one of the things we like to emphasize is this metaphor called the parlor room metaphor. It's introduced in Stuart Green's article, Argument is Conversation, but he got it from somebody else.
Kenneth Burke.
Yeah, Kenneth Burke. So what he said was that you pretend you go to a party in this parlor, and there's people having a conversation about a certain subject. So you stand by and you listen for a while, and then you get what it is that they're talking about, and you have your own perspective about the conversation. So you jump in. And then somebody responds to you, and somebody disagrees with you, somebody agrees with you. It starts this whole conversation, and then after a while you realize you have to leave. And so you leave, and the conversation keeps going. And that is what research is. You are entering into a conversation that is happening in the world from your own perspective. And it'll keep going after you've stopped talking about it, but because you jumped in, you added something new to it.
Right. So imagine, let's go back to the topic that we created. Imagine there's this conversation going on about texting while driving and the dangers it poses and like how social media isn't helping. And then if you come in to this conversation, you go, texting while driving is bad. You know, everybody's going to kind of look at you and go, yeah? And it doesn't create anything of value.
Right.
However, if you come in and you go, well, I propose we should do this instead, or create this new piece of technology, and then people will go, well, who will make it, and what would it look like?
Right.
And you contributed something
Right.
to this conversation that is going to continue to go on way after you've, made your input.
Right.
And hopefully it kind of changes the direction of what the conversation might look like.
Right.
And that's where innovators come in and they go, I will solve this.
Right, right.
And that is ultimately our goal for you, so that you can approach these complex topics and introduce concepts and explore concepts and add to this conversation. And who knows, maybe you will be the one to solve this incredibly complex topic that you may be involving yourself in.
Yes. And then we hope that makes you more engaged in your research.
Right.
Realizing your role in a large rhetorical community and how important it is, how important your voice is.
Right. And your voice is constructed by who you are.
Right.
And your framework of understanding the world is uniquely yours.
Right.
And I like to ask my students, have you ever lived my life?
Right.
And of course that's a silly question because they haven't, right?
Right.
Unless we're going through that movie with, anyway. But, so, they've never lived my life, and I've never lived theirs, and I tell them it's such a shame, because I will never get to experience what you've experienced. However, you can try to recreate that for me, and show me from your perspective how you understand a topic, so that I may grow,
Right.
and we may grow, and the whole of society can grow, by sharing these perspectives and these
Right.
the way these understandings work with each other.
So, as far as going about picking a topic or a subject, that is very much up to you, and also up to the parameters within your class,
Right.
and the parameters your professor sets, and the parameters of our writing program. So it really depends, but we would hope that you would pick something that is of interest to you, because you're going to dedicate weeks and weeks of your time and your effort to this, and so want to kind of steer you towards things that you are interested in, so we get your best work. And you can also ask your professor for help in developing a question. One of the awesome librarians that we have here on campus, one of the many, they suggested that maybe Google might be one of the good preliminary places to explore topics, like Wikipedia. That's not a place that we necessarily want to get sources from, and we'll talk about sources later. But when you're kind of starting off with developing a research question, going down that rabbit hole of looking at one page and then going to the next, and you've done it, you've gone to YouTube and started looking at cat videos, and all of a sudden 9/11 was an inside job, and cat did it, and it's crazy, but that's what research can be too, exploring your interests and your curiosities.
It's just true, though. No, but, yeah, so that's the kind of framework that we hope you kind of dive into these questions with, is don't give me something basic. Don't just give me a yes or no idea. Explore things. Come to conclusions. And I have a lot of students who struggle. They start off with a research question, very one-sided. They're like, this is this, period. I know, I understand it, and I'll prove it to you. And then they'll go out and they'll do the research for this question, and by the end of it, it's a week before it's due. They've been working on it for a month or two, and they come in and they go, sir, I had this idea for my research, and now that I've done some reading and I found a lot of sources, I think I might be wrong. And my face lights up, and I go, okay, so what do you want to do with this newfound knowledge? And they look down solemnly and they go, can I change my topic? No! Part of doing research is finding out these new perspectives that may change your whole world entirely, or they just might be like, huh, now I know that.
Right.
It's okay to start off with a specific idea, and then it evolves over time.
Right.
Research isn't this, I'm right, let me prove it. It's this, let me explore this topic and see what I can come to, what kind of conclusion I can come to from my perspective.
Right. So to sum everything up, to develop a research question that is all at once effective and interesting, do a bit of an exploration into your own thoughts and your interests, figure out the parameters of your assignment and talk to your professor, visit the library, talk to the awesome librarians, Google things, read some Wikipedia pages just for like curiosity's sake, and come up with a question that challenges you to explore the complexities of an issue rather than the simplistic, one-sided sort of thing.
Right.
And that'll really lead you into developing a research paper that is effective and interesting and engaging and adds new knowledge to our world from your own perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay? And again, if you ever have any questions, we're around via email, or you can ask your professors, you can ask your professors who ask us, all those good things.
Yeah, just keep in touch.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.